If somebody asked me, what do you want from a remake of a beloved favorite of yours? I feel confident I could give a pretty good answer. Now, how would my personal list of untouched features mixed with needed changes to modernize the title look in comparison to yours? There would probably be some overlap, but there would probably also be quite a few differences. So as frustrating as many poorly done remakes can be, I don't think making a great remake is as easy as it may appear. My first introduction to Pokémon was actually with Diamond and Pearl in 2006. I would go on to also play through the enhanced version of Platinum a few years later. With Game Freak busy working on Legends Arceus, the development of these Diamond and Pearl remakes have been left to the relatively unknown support studio of ILCA. How have they handled this tall task? Let's find out. Before we begin though, this review is based off of my time playing Brilliant Diamond, but everything I will be covering applies to both versions of the game. Like any other Pokemon game before it or since, you start out as an aspiring trainer from a small town. Through a series of events involving your local professor, you are given the opportunity of a lifetime to become a Pokemon trainer. You are also given one of 3 starters to choose from, with your rival also receiving one. You begin your journey across the region to capture and collect an assortment of Pokemon to fill out the Pokédex, while also challenging 8 gym leaders during your travels. Somewhere along the journey you encounter an evil team with nefarious plans that almost always involve a legendary Pokemon. The setup here is no different, with Professor Rowan giving you the option between Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. Team Galactic is attempting to rebuild the universe by harnessing the energy of either Dialga or Palkia, depending on your version. As far as Pokemon stories go, Diamond and Pearl play it a little too safe for my liking, leading me to my main criticism, and that's the exclusion of Platinum content. Pokemon Platinum really expanded upon most of Diamond and Pearl's shortcomings, so to exclude it is disappointing on both the story and gameplay level. Going into my playthrough, the most controversial topic of discussion was definitely the art style. ILCA made the decision to keep the overworld proportionally identical to the original games, with the use of chibi-style characters. I personally don't mind the character models in the overworld running around, but where I do have issues is in the cutscenes. Every scene of dialogue was an eyesore, with each model awkwardly bobbling their lifeless massive heads around. Making things worse, the in-battle models look very traditional and proportional. I'd even say they look great. This stark contrast can feel quite jarring at times. The art direction must have been a tricky topic to approach, but I will say I think a style more similar to the Let's Go remakes could have excelled here, but I'll leave it to you, the viewer, to make your own conclusions. The overworld itself does look fantastic, and it is faithful to its original layout with some updated graphics. Assets like grass and trees don't look particularly breathtaking here for a modern context, but they do have some charm. Funny enough, I was blown away on several occasions about how good the water effects look. Water has no business looking this good in a Pokemon game. Maybe the team is getting ready for another Ruby and Sapphire remake. Joking aside, I was also pleasantly surprised by the beautiful and relevant backdrops during battle. They often reminded me of the backgrounds found in the anime. Kind of a small detail in the grand scheme of things, but this just shows to me ILCA took these remakes seriously. For me personally, the music here was a nostalgia trip throughout my visit in Sinnoh, having not heard many of these pieces in over 10 years. It took me about 5 hours of playing to realize I wasn't listening to the exact original score, but a remade one. What I was hearing fit perfectly with how I remembered the soundtrack, but in all reality this version is more dynamic since it's not restricted to the hardware limitations of the Nintendo DS. Pokemon games tend to have a solid soundtrack, but I would definitely consider the Gen 4 games to have one of the best. The region of Sinnoh is based off of the northern island of Hokkaido in Japan. At the center of the landmass is Mount Coronet, which divides the island into east and west halves, with both sides having some subtle differences. While being mostly filled with pine trees, rocks, and snow, Sinnoh does capture a great sense of adventure when traveling throughout the land. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are very loyal to their source material with few changes to cover. Instead, the changes that are here focus on modernizing the title without interfering with the base formula. Exploration isn't as open-ended as the most recent titles of Sword and Shield, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad thing. In fact, I think Diamond and Pearl more than make up for this with superb route design. The thorough planning and attention to detail in each location really gives you a sense of adventure when making your way from one destination to another. Like in the original games on DS, there are specialized TM moves unlocked throughout your journey that reveal new hidden paths and locations. Unlike in the originals, these special moves are no longer taking up precious space in your team's moveset. A very welcome quality of life improvement that also avoids interfering with the game's core mechanics. There is also the addition of multi-directional movement compared to the previous 4-direction layout. One downside I did discover to this is I constantly collided into items. Free moving in a 4-directional space leads to some spatially awkward moments. As with any Pokemon game, the pocket monsters are the star here. There are less than 150 Pokemon available during the mainline story to catch, with many more unlocked during the post-game and with some trading of version exclusives. The roster here isn't terrible, but it's definitely unbalanced with the fewest fire types to choose from. This is an area where the omission of Platinum's extra content could have really balanced things out. Again, you have access to an assortment of Pokemon in the post-game, but that's too little too late in my opinion. The starters, on the other hand, are easily some of my personal favorites as a whole set. I genuinely struggled to select my starter, with each of them having an awesome typing combination and a cool looking final evolution. Catch mechanics remain relatively untouched, with random encounters occurring in select grass patches as in the original. Beneath the surface, you will find Pokemon wandering around in the overworld of caverns, but this is exclusive to the Grand Underground, which is expanded upon from its original iteration. Along with wandering Pokemon, the mining minigame and secret bases return with some tweaks. Not all for the best though. As a whole, I personally didn't spend too much time in the Grand Underground except for a few moments to grind up against some higher level wild Pokemon. The in-game battle mechanics are almost identical to that of Sword and Shield, which is mostly a good thing when you consider all the positive changes of battling since 2006. Part of these changes have modernized typings thrown in for a little more balance. I will say the lack of an option to turn off experience share remains disappointing. Contests are back, but are altered in the form of a rhythm minigame. I found the minigame to be entertaining for a moment, but ultimately less engaging over the original. Something new to the Sinnoh games, but not new to Pokemon, your pocket monsters can follow you around now. As much as I like being accompanied by my team, I did notice many of the Pokemon's proportions were quite noticeably off. I also found many of them to have kinda clunky movement animations. Probably one of the most marketed features for these new games is you can now put stickers on your Pokeball. I may not be the demographic this feature was aimed for, but I couldn't help but laugh at the silliness of this. Customizing a ball from scratch could have been really cool, but adding some limited basic stickers is lame if you ask me. I believe Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl find a great balance of appeasing old players with its faithfulness, while also doubling as a great game for new players to try due to the modern changes. Few changes are made here, with some doing a better job of finding balance, while others could easily be considered a downgrade. I've beat this dead horse throughout this review, but I maintain that Pokemon Platinum would have been a better game to base these remakes off of. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are great, faithful remakes, but missed the opportunity to claim the title as the definitive Sinnoh games. 7.5. If you like my content, feel free to leave me a like and even subscribe. Keep a lookout for my Legends Arceus review, but I want to thank you for watching, and until next time, see ya!